All right, welcome to the Team Superbad call. It is the last call of June 2015. It's June 29th. We have one more day in June, one more day. And I know Lisa is in Success Club 10. She's rocking. And Melissa hit diamond this month. So there's another milestone of awesome going on. Um, a couple people signed their first coaches. I mean, it was a really, really great month. And we have Summit coming up, and we have Super Saturday coming up in July, basically in 2 weeks, and then Super Saturdays in 3 weeks. I mean, I haven't shopped, I haven't done a thing for Summit. I've done a few things. But even if you're not going to Summit, you should look at what's going on with the agenda and things, because I've heard that they're going to be taping and some stuff will be streamed. They're going to do some streaming of some stuff. I know the general sessions last year, they did a live streaming on the Beachbody YouTube channel and on what's the broadcast channel they do? Ustream or something where they
Periscope,
I
maybe.
don't remember what it was called, but they do the same thing they do the Surge on YouTube, and then another channel that they do where they will stream live the general opening session. So you'll get to see and hear the announcements just like everyone else does. So that's pretty fun. And you might be at work when it's happening, but at least you have the opportunity to watch it live. And now is the time also to figure out your goals. We're coming up on the second half of the year. So to really think about those things, even if you're a brand new coach, what do you want to accomplish for the second half of the year? And my last tip, my success partner, Rhonda, who is Greg's sister, so he's going to talk about that. I'm sure most of you didn't even know that. She gave me a gratitude journal after we talked a week or so ago. She sent it to me in the mail, and I'm writing 3 things down at bedtime. I even brought it with me to Austin so I could write in it in bed before I went to sleep. And which is a big deal because carrying a book around that's this thick, I mean, most people don't carry books around, but I've been writing in it every day, and I would encourage you to write 3 things down every day that you're grateful for. It could be anything. I mean, I was grateful for a sunset. I was grateful for, the glass of wine I had that was really good. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, but to think of those 3 awesome things at the end of the day. So I'm going to introduce our guest speaker on the Summer of Inspiration. And I believe this is call number 5 on the Summer of Inspiration. We've had people scheduled every week, and this is so awesome. And tonight we have Greg Barth, and I'm not going to tell his story for him. I know I posted a little bit of your bio on our team page, and Greg and I met because he was one of those people who just said, hey, I'm going to sign up to be a coach, and he didn't know anyone and was assigned to someone. And then he was talking to his sister, Rhonda, and she became a coach. And Rhonda and I live locally together, and we met and became success partners and went to Summit together, and Greg was there, and we all just formed a friendship. And I don't want to say any more. I'm going to mute myself because I know Greg has some great stuff. We've all been on this journey about 5-ish years. So, if you're a brand new coach or you've been doing this a while, I think Greg has some great stuff to share. So I'm going to just turn it over to you and mute myself.
Sounds good. Thank you, Heather. I think before we jump in, I see a quarter behind you. That's an inside joke from the very first summit, probably, is there was some change of, or we were really distracted easily and we had a lot of fun. But this will be my 4th summit coming up, because that was the first one in LA and then 3 years in Vegas and then coming up this year. But as Heather said, Rhonda Layton is my sister, and we've started this journey basically together. But I'm going to walk through a little bit of my story and how I've got to where I am today and the perfect picture that it was along the way. It's been a lot of challenges along the way, and a lot of great things have happened to me as well. But I think sometimes we fall into this perception that we gauge people success, and that's how we should. But we only see what they're highlighting. A lot of people don't really want to show their vulnerability because it's hard to show that. And I've been showing more and more of that as I've been able to learn and grow through this process. And the more that you do that, the more people will really respect you too, is what I'm finding out. And I've learned a lot from that process. But if I go back to 2009, that's where it started for me. October 5th, 2009. I'll remember that very vividly in my head. I was never really overweight, but I was soft, and I was a marathon 24 watcher with Jack Bauer. I was watching him save the world as I was sitting on the couch late into the night eating chips or whatever I was doing. I was married, I had 2 kids at the time, and I had this software job, and just things were just going along. We get in this pattern, and this, it wasn't horrible. It was kind of what people do, basically. But it wasn't overly exciting. It wasn't pushing me. It wasn't changing me for the better. It was just going along, and it was slowly going down the opposite path, where if I would have continued that, I would have had elevated blood pressure and cholesterol and all that kind of stuff would have started to creep in more. And it was starting to go a little bit in that direction, but not too bad. I was maybe more unique where I didn't wait until it was too late, or I have some really severe health issue. It was just enough to notice, but I was nudged a few times along the way at some signs that came up that I need to change something. And I don't really know specifically. I just wanted something different. And part of what I understand now is that I'm number 4 in my family, 3 sisters, and then me, and then Rhonda. So I'm the only boy. I never saw Star Wars. Well, I wonder why. I guess that's I never will, because I can't watch it now. But so as being number 4, I started to understand now that going through life and growing up, Rhonda and I became really close because we were close in age. And I just never really pushed myself outside of to be the best that I could be. I was always just getting by. Maybe that's because there was so much commotion, and if I could get a couple extra pieces of Tombstone pizza on a Friday night watching Dukes of Hazzard, that was a win. And Rhonda knows this really well. As I would hide a piece of pizza, but whatever. But it was like, now that I look back at that, I was in sports in high school. I had more of it wasn't hard for me to pick up on a sport. I had some of that where I could be okay at it, but I never thought, what if I put some extra work in this? I could be excellent or way better. So fast forward to P90X time, I asked around, and people said it was good if you do it. And the switch went on, and I'm like, I'm going to go all in, and I dove in. And within a few weeks, after day 2 and almost vomiting on a plyo, I kept going. And by week 3, I had already noticed some changes. So I finished the first 90 days. I lost 11 pounds in 90 days. And I'd never tried to lose weight. That wasn't my goal. My goal as a guy was to tone up, so, whatever that means. But I lost 11 pounds, and that was insane. That was enough for me. I was pretty much hooked. I did 9 months in a row. I lost 25 pounds. And by the end of like the 3rd or 4th month, it was really becoming obvious that there was changes in me. Not only my waist, but my confidence was really growing. And the look of me was changing. Everything about me was changing in a positive direction. So people were noticing, and they were asking me questions, and I would naturally answer them. And so Heather, you said that I signed up as randomly, but you may not even know this. I signed up with someone I knew that I met through a P90X group, and he's in IT, and I'm still in IT, and I connected him in that level, and he was close to me. But I didn't really know that he wasn't really running a business. He was just getting a discount. And then he was a coach of his wife's, and she was kind of doing the same thing. So in hindsight, that was maybe not the smartest move, because I never got any of that help. But on the other side, that's maybe one failure right there. But what I learned through that and how to build it organically to what I have now is such a huge growth and learning opportunity that I had along the way. Many coaches have not been given anything, and they still do it. So it just made me want more, probably, when that happened. So then, basically it was the fitness is where it started, and I almost vomited and got, it was really challenging the first few weeks, but I got through that. And this is coming from someone that had, was athletic, but I was not really at that point that I was out of shape. 25 pounds down, started helping people, and I didn't have the first clue what I was doing as a coach. I was floundering around for it took me 6 months to figure out anything. I was just trying to do everything on my own, and I thought I was just going by figuring things out. But Rhonda started about 3-4 months into it when I was a coach. And she right away she met up with Chris Reed and Cody at this first event. I think it was a Tony Horton event, or maybe it was leadership or something at the time. And she didn't know anything either, and I couldn't really teach her anything because I didn't know. But it just by fate and faith, she connected with them, and Chris sat her down and taught her a lot of things about the business. And she immediately started making Success Club. And then I was seeing that I wasn't making Success Club because that's for other people. I can't do that. Even I wasn't even Emerald. I don't. That's not for me. I couldn't see it. But as soon as she did it, and we were working closely together, we talk all the time. I just told myself, I decided that I'm going to do it, and I did. I started doing it just because I decided to, and I wasn't going to let down until I did it. And I've been doing that ever since. And now I set bigger and bigger goals every time. And it's never really, for me, it's not always easy. But I think this is Jim Rohn. He says, it's not, don't wish it was easier, wish it were better. And I remember at least a handful of times saying that to Rhonda, or her saying it to me earlier on too. And we were just frustrated, like, why isn't it easier? But we just have to become better. And we've grown a lot, and we have tons of stories to share, but we never, ever, ever, it's never crossed my mind to quit, because I've always seen this as the ticket for me. And I've always been more of the business person, and Rhonda's always been more of the fitness person. So we find it somewhat funny that I'm the one that finds this and brings her into it, and it becomes a natural fit for her. So it's brought us together even closer as a brother and sister too. So all these other indirect things that come out of it, it's really cool. So then basically, if I fast forward, I made Emerald and I made Diamond, and I'll kind of touch on it a little bit more. But my first event was in 2010. Rhonda had been to the event in Dallas, and I saw all this excitement, this energy from the event, and she was really getting plugged in. And I was still sitting there like this. I didn't know, know what to do. I went to Chicago, flew to Chicago with not really having the money. I went to a game plan event, which they had at the time. And I went by myself, and I just figured I need to get plugged into Beachbody and see the people. I can see them online and stuff, but I need to be there. And that was November of 2010. And I met Mindy Wender, Hillary Kelly at the time, and they were just starting to rise as being very successful. And they were even considered probably pretty successful at the time. I was just getting myself kind of the feet underneath me. So I joke about this, is they were all so nice. Everyone in the community is always very nice. Doesn't matter what level you're on. And I didn't know anyone. I just went in cold by myself, and I went up to them then too, and I said, "Hey, I'm Greg. How are you? What's your name?" So that was like my learning. If you go to the event, just introduce yourself, because they're all so nice, and no one's going to bite you. Sometimes if there are so many people there, they might have less time, but introduce yourself. And then Tommy Migrant was there, and all these people that are really successful, and a lot of them I've become friends with, and we're all just the same. That's really what it is. They're just the same. Everyone just has, maybe they've worked harder on it or longer on it, but it doesn't really matter. I created a website, I created a YouTube channel, all these things to keep growing myself, and I hated doing video up to some point, but I just kept doing it, and I became better at it. And I consider YouTube, even though I was growing with it, I consider that a failure. Consider my website a failure, because it never really brought me a lot of business. I have a YouTube video that has 90,000 views, and I've gotten pretty much nothing from it, other than entertaining and providing knowledge to coaches. It's a review on P90X and Insanity, and then I have some other ones on similar stuff, but it was never really converting. And then I also created this podcast that Heather's been on, and my goal there was to create an environment where you're facing your fears and you're living life a little bit more, and interviewing people on their story. And I wanted to bring in people that would want more from me and get my help with fitness. And that didn't really happen. I had some of it, but what I didn't plan is all the people I've met that were on the show, and all the people that they had. And it's crazy. And looks like it's going to send me to Australia in November, just from that. And that's
Hey,
just
wait, I have
one.
to stop you. You had Tony Horton on
Yeah,
your
yeah. I gotta
podcast.
touch on
Okay,
that.
everyone, when after I get posted the link in the team page, but I'll put it's thepowerofnow.com. Is
The
that right?
life of now.
The Life of Now,
Yeah.
lifeofnow.com. And that's the podcast that you can actually download and listen to the old podcasts and stuff. And Greg had Tony Horton on his podcast show. I think I was like one of the first guests, like
Yeah.
number 3 or whatever, when you first started it. And then to be, on the same podcast as Tony, that's pretty darn.
He couldn't stop talking about you, Heather.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know. We're like this. But that's so cool. That okay, so continue. I had to
Well,
throw
so
that
I'll tell the Tony story roughly, and then there's another one that I don't want to take too much time. So the Tony Horton story is like one of the main reasons I wanted to start the podcast as well, because I wanted to elevate my brand as well, because it's what we do as our brand is immensely important, because everyone can sell psychology, but how are you different? How do you connect with people in your audience, your market? And that part alone too is people do look at me differently because I have a podcast. And to me, it's like, it's not a big deal even really, because it's pretty normal. But one of my big goals is I'm going to interview Tony Horton. And I'm big into vision and talking positively. And I would mention that on many episodes that I would talk with a guest and we would say, where do you want to go with your life? And then one thing I would say is I'm going to interview Tony, and I would talk to him. I even made a video on it. I said, I invited him onto the show and all that stuff. And then I finally, I started making connections to get a hold of him. And it took 9 months basically to get him on. And I had to connect with his PR lady, Nicole Dunn. I connected with her, and it was about 5 months later, 4 months later, she emailed me back and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, the email was down below, and let's set something up." So I ran around and screamed, I was all excited. And it was still a little while before actually, because he was skiing, and so we lined it all up though, and I got him on. And when I had him on, I also had this attitude of, he's Tony, and we're just a couple of guys hanging out. We're having a conversation, and that's how I try to see others. Is I think they respect you more when you respect yourself and you see yourself in a positive light, and that you're not just all, oh, Tony, just speak to them with confidence, and how having a normal conversation, like I said. And I think he respected that. It felt really natural for me, and it was really cool because I envisioned that, and then it happened, and then it could kind of continue from there. And it's like, what can I do now? What can I do next? More confidence, and people do see me differently from that. But another failure I want to touch on real briefly, Heather, was a year ago, Beachbody had this Beachbody talent team, and you had to send an audition video for it. Long story short is I sent mine in, and I do a lot of video on YouTube, and right now I'm doing a lot of Instagram. But so I thought I could pull something off, that they at least give me a shot. And I'm certified at P90X, all that kind of stuff. I sent it in, and then the deadline came, and I got the standard email. Sorry, but no thanks. We'll put your name on file, and maybe next year. So I was really bummed, and what I did is I shared a video in our team, and this is probably one of the first times that I shared more vulnerability, probably. And they all respected that I'm going for something that I believe in. And then I didn't necessarily get it, but I learned so many things along the way. But I wanted to take a step further because I had confidence, and I emailed her and I said, can you give me some tips on how I can improve for next year? She emailed me back like a day or two later and said, yeah, I looked through it, and I'd like to invite you out. I was really impressed with you. So she invited me out anyway, because I simply followed up with confidence and just asking some questions. So asking and being confident and following up. If I didn't do the simple email, nothing would have happened. So I went out there and I met all these other cool people that are all very similar to, their goals were the high goals. And the long story there is, or the short story version is, I did not make the final cut, but there was 4 of the 12, I think, that they picked of each group. And one of them was an Olympic silver or bronze athlete in one of the Olympics. And so they're all like really connected, but they're all like friends of mine. And I just keep compounding the people that I get to meet. and all the people that they get to meet, and it just keeps going from there. And every time I do that sort of thing, I learn so many new things. And I envisioned looking over Hollywood and seeing my life change, and how it just becomes such a surreal experience when you can put, or when you can see happen, or it happens when you visualize it beforehand. And then one of the other things was, I was recently, last year I went through a divorce, and I was married for 18 years, and I have 2 kids. So that was like a big, in today's society, that's a failure. But there's been a lot of cool things that have come from through that. Is one piece is that I have all this personal development that we've been doing for 5 years basically with Beachbody. And right now it's, we get along great. We're great friends. It's really good for my daughters that they see us getting along, and we work well together, and we're friends. But honestly, if I didn't have all this personal development, all this growth, I don't know if I wouldn't have handled it the same way, and who knows what I would be doing. And so that's just the indirect pieces that come out of being a coach and growing. It's much bigger than Beachbody, much bigger. And then one other thing here, I'm cramming it all in, Heather, but I want to touch on Summit and Super Saturday real briefly. But when I first started, I was an Emerald, and I was not, considered the diamond leader that we always sometimes think we need to be. But we didn't really have any events in Minnesota because I'm in Minneapolis, and I wanted to get something going here. So there was a couple of us that connected on different teams. We started our own Super Saturday event in a church. It was like 6 people and a couple of crying babies or something. And it was really small, but we started it on our own, and we weren't labeled any leaders. We just started it. And it just kept growing, and it kept growing, and it's ebbed and flowed a little bit. But now I'm on the market council. I was invited onto that and all this kind of stuff. And we have Arnold coming up on our next month. We're doing a Super Friday. We're doing big Friday party, neon 80s thing. And I'm even doing a coach panel. I get to be part of that. So all these opportunities have come my way, is just to be able to help. And I just love being able to talk about it and what I've learned. And it's none of that would have really happened if I didn't stick my neck out a little bit. And I have never missed Super Saturday, never missed, because of the energy there is. And the friends, I mean, if Beachbody went away, I'd have so many friends in town that they're not on my team, but I hang out with them, and we go to the Success Club trips in the Summit. We'll see them around, running around. You can't put a value on that. And I think all the things that I touched on here briefly, there's been a lot of failures, but I always try to find the opportunity in them. And when you are positive about it, but you also share that you have bad days, but the better days, you focus on the better ones, and you learn what you learn from that you'll project that out on your Facebook profile, and when you're in person with people want to be, this amounts to energy. People want to be around people with energy and that are somewhat of a positive light, that are not fake. So if you're like, ha ha ha, I'm a robot, I do 4 hours a day of workouts and I eat nothing but clean food, woo! No one's gonna ever connect with you. So if you're vulnerable, sharing stories like this sucked, this is great because of that, then everything just becomes better. And I think that's the secret sauce the secret to success, is being energetic and being able to connect with people on a deeper level, to their level, common interests. I mean, that's really what it's about. So that's real high level, but I mean, I can kind of talk a little bit
Oh, I know how you are,
more.
Greg. We both, all of us, I think we like to talk a long time, and we could be on this call for like 3 hours. But I mean, I didn't even know Greg. I didn't even know him. I mean, like, the people who are on our team call right now are in other parts of the country, which before Beachbody, I'd be sitting in the living room watching The Bachelorette, drinking wine. Okay? That's what I'd be doing. And what Rhonda and I had talked about before is, and I even talked about it with Julie Fowler over this weekend. We went to Austin this weekend with Dennis and Julie Fowler and their kids. And we were talking about that once you get to a certain point as a coach, not just a rank, but because you've been working on your personal development for such a long time as a coach, because it is one of the vital behaviors. And if you're going to be a successful coach, then you are working on your personal development, whether it's every day or 3 or 4 times a week or whatever it is that you're doing it. And the more you do it and the longer you do it, the harder it is for you to just veg out and be a zombie. It's the harder it is for you to just sit on the couch and have wine and forget about everything else. It's so you can't even do it anymore. Like your mind's always like, what can I do now? Who can I help now? What's another way to do this? And it's like your mind's always spinning. I mean, shoot, we're like, hey, let's go to Austin with these people. We wouldn't have done that before. We're going here, we're driving there, we're going to Nashville, oh, we're going to New York for a wedding of another coach of mine. It's just all these connections and awesome things that happen. Some things I wrote down to recap you, Greg, and then I want to open it really quick for questions, is you're talking about never giving up. No matter, because when you were a brand new coach, and I know when I was a new coach, there wasn't a lot of stuff available. There wasn't a lot of training. There wasn't a lot of communication from corporate. Breaking news didn't exist. We just kind of had to flounder around. The FAQ database wasn't there. There were so many things that weren't there that we just either had to make it up or just kind of figure out the best way and move forward. So never giving up and just learning and finding a way is big. So I think that was good tips from you. And just failing forward. Even if someone says no, or even if you have that difficult personal experience, the divorce, the move, losing your job, whatever that personal struggle is, that being a coach and being connected with your team and your coach friends helped you through that. And I thought that was great. And um, just your transformation story I thought was awesome too. And if you guys look really closely, Greg's in several different videos, like the I'm a Coach video and a couple other things
It
where
changed my
he's,
life. That's my line.
yeah. Yeah. So if you check it out, Greg's in there. And but no, that was good. So I'm going to put it back on a little gallery view so I can see the hands. And if you're on the phone, possibly unmute yourself. But if you want to ask Greg a question, and don't be scared. It's just Greg. Nope, no questions for Greg. I'll ask a question. We had guest speakers. Greg and I were in this 90 Days to Diamond group years ago. Didn't know each other. We had no idea what we were doing. We would spam the heck out of people. We were just like creating these things to put in people's mailboxes and flyers in the neighborhood and magnets on our cars and just ridiculous, like I just bought a little thing for my dog. Like someone made a sweater for their dog that said P90X on it in the group, like we were doing anything and everything. But it was fun because we got to know each other better and built some friendships that we formed years ago in that group. And I guess my big question would be, you said that you've never thought of quitting and that never entered your mind. What is it that keeps you, pushing forward with Beachbody? What's so attractive about the Beachbody model or the Beachbody, is the people, like whatever it is, what keeps you coming back?
Well, the longer I do this, the more I understand the power of our why. And it's the workouts and the business. If we don't have that, that's what I tell new coaches now. It's like I don't even answer any of the questions. Like you got to write out or tell me your why, or else this conversation doesn't even it won't go anywhere because they're not things are going to come up in a few weeks or a month, and it's going to get hard. And what's going to get you through that? And I think setting that expectation for that too, that it will get this is success like that. It's not straight up or whatever. But for me, my why has changed dramatically many times. But really, it kind of amounts to right now is that this is about my daughters and creating leaders out of them, believe them to believe anything is possible and not put limits on themselves, and time freedom. Is I just have this burning desire to not have to work for someone else. And I'm still doing that right now. It's
A
like,
burning desire to not have to work for someone else.
no,
I
I
love
want to
it.
do my own thing, and I want to like travel. I want to do whatever I want, and I live in the society with the internet and everything's in front of me. I mean, it almost is. We can do anything with the internet. There's people that are way dumber than I and have way less time, and, and they're like millionaires. I mean, why can't we do it? I mean, that's our own. We put limits on ourselves, and I don't want to do
Yes.
that. And
No, this was fantastic. I appreciate that. And you're so right. You're so right that we forget about that a lot is we jump into the rank goals, we jump into the points, we jump into the income, and we don't stop to think about why we're doing it. And that's why a lot of people will detract from the team or detract from the goal and say, well, I didn't hit the goal I wanted, so now I'm going to back off, instead of saying, why was I really going for the goal in the beginning? That should still be the driver, whether you hit the goal by the deadline or not. And so that's awesome. It's a
yeah,
great reminder.
it helps you push through that and communicate in the right way. I think too.
Exactly. Well, we're out of time, and I got to jump on another call, but I'm so happy you were here tonight. Thank you for
Thank
everything.
you,
I'm going to
Heather.
post your link again into the podcast link in our team page so you can follow Greg and follow his podcast and listen to the old ones and scroll
There's another
his.
team member on there as well.
Yep, Crash is on there.
Well,
I'm on there.
actually, several. Yeah.
And yeah, a couple other. Oh, Christina
Yeah.
spoke on there also. So it was good times. And thanks again. And I'll see you in Nashville in 2 weeks, right?
All right. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Heather. Thanks,
Good
guys.
night.
See ya.